I was a sailor. I am a sailor. And I spent 2 tours in Vietnam in 66, 67, 68, those years. 2 9-month cruises. Had a pretty interesting job. I was a photographer, and a lot of my duties were taking cruise book pictures and recording events that happened aboard ship. But my main job was photo intelligence, photo reconnaissance. We'd load the gun pod cameras into aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft, big cameras, big cameras, 9-inch negatives on the film, because most of our shots were contact shots, contact prints. And the planes would go out and shoot aerial reconnaissance of the ground in Vietnam and bring the pictures back, and we'd use them in determining when the other planes would go out and drop the real things. Real interesting job. Made you feel like you were important to the effort. Wasn't like today where the pilots go up and they have that heads-up display and the radar and the smart bombs and anything like that. Back then, we'd print a portfolio of pictures, and the pilots would use the pictures to go find their way from landmark to landmark to landmark on ground. And as they're doing so, they're flipping the pictures back and forth and to the next picture, to the next landmark. And when they got to the bomb site, they'd drop their bombs. And so it kept us going, and a lot of late nights, a lot of 24-hour projects. Yeah. And then there was, the lighter side of it, going out and cruise book photography, taking pictures of just the guys on the beach having fun with the ladies over there, or going out touring the country and taking pictures of the Buddha in Japan, or Mount Fuji, or in the Philippines, or in China, Hong Kong. That was the fun part of it. And then there was the official photography, where we shoot the pictures of the people aboard ship, the officers for their official portraits, and ID photos for the crew for their IDs. And of course, we always had a good supply of 8 by 10 pictures of the ship that we could trade to the other boys for whatever we would like to get. Like one time we traded some pictures for a Virginia ham, and we kept the Virginia ham in our we had a refrigerator in the photo lab that we kept our film in to keep the film fresh, but it worked pretty well with that Virginia ham too. And while everybody else was going down to mess, we were making sandwiches in the photo lab. And of course, we had that Kool-Aid jug that stainless steel Kool-Aid jug that we got from the mess deck that we made our Kool-Aid in. But we did have a secret recipe for the Kool-Aid sometimes too, kind of like Hawkeye and BJ. They made their gin. We kind of traded with the medical deck for some good stuff to mix with our Kool-Aid. We were kind of like MASH over there a bit. Yeah, we'd go out to sea for anywhere from 72 to 90 days at a time, and a lot of time was busy doing the war effort, and a lot of time was not busy, and we had to kind of entertain ourselves. And other than the floating crap games and the card games and stuff like that, a lot of times sometimes we'd develop rolls of film for the people for the sailors on the Intrepid. Sometimes rolls of film that they couldn't send to Kodak. We're not going to say too much about that, except that we did keep copies of some of the better pictures. It was fun, and it was work. You had to keep yourself going. especially hard for a 19 or 20-year-old like I was. But of course, the guys over in Iraq now are 19 and 20 years old right now, and I feel sorry and I feel proud of what they're doing over there now, as proud as I am of what I did back then. I came from a sailor family, so I stayed in the Navy, and I'm kind of glad I did. I got to see the world. By the time I was 20 years old, I had stepped foot on almost every continent in the world. Seen a lot of different ways of life, seen a lot of different religions and ethnic foods and stuff like that. I did enjoy the ethnic foods a lot. The Japanese foods. We'd go out we'd pull into a sailor town, and we kind of get out of sailor town and get out to the outlying communities and taste the real fare, the things that the Japanese people ate and everything like that. Kind of consider myself a galloping gourmet at the time a little bit, you know. The original Copacabana down off the base in Cuba, off Guantanamo Bay. We were down in Guantanamo Bay when they commissioned the New Jersey, Battleship New Jersey. And we did war games off Guantanamo Bay with the Jersey, and that was unbelievable. We were sit about a quarter mile off the bow of the New Jersey, and when she let off those 60-inch guns, about 25, 30 seconds later, the aircraft carrier would shake. So that was an experience. One funny thing that we did, and we were in the middle of our first cruise to Vietnam, going to our second one, and a bunch of us guys were on the strip in Norfolk, Virginia. And on our way back to the ship one day, we were on our way to the taxi stand to pick up a taxi for a trip back to the base, and we happened to cut behind a department store, and while cutting behind the department store, we noticed that there was some trash bins back there, and they had mannequins, or bits and pieces of mannequins in the trash bins behind the department store, and we kind of collected one of those, or a couple of those mannequins, and we got the taxi driver to put them in the trunk. And when we got back to the pier, he dropped us off about midship, and we kind of unloaded the mannequins over on the dock. And after boarding ship, we went down to the deck outside the photo lab, and we hoisted up these mannequin pieces and managed to assemble a complete mannequin, female of course, out of these parts. And Mitch Womble brought in a wig from his wife, and he was living off base while we were being refitted. And Mike Christ, his wife, who was living, well, they lived in Virginia, Chesapeake, just outside of Norfolk, donated a dress. And she was, we had her in the dock room in the photo lab, sitting on a stool, and she was our company. And we had a lot of good times, you know, talking with her and among us guys, and you know, we could talk to her any way we wanted. But we got out of the yards and headed back to Vietnam on our second cruise. And as we approached the Mediterranean Sea, the executive officer called a all ship inspection, all spaces. Well, the division officer came to us and said, "You're going to have to get rid of that mannequin." And we argued a little bit, but he says, "No." He says, "Just got to get rid of that mannequin." Well, Chris took his wife's dress off, and Mitch took the wig off, and a little while later we went outside the photo lab and kind of just dropped it off the side of the ship. Went back into the photo lab, and I don't think it was 10 seconds later we heard the bong, bong, bong of man overboard. Shortly after that, the division officer stepped into the photo lab and said, "What did you do with that mannequin?" And we kind of stayed quiet for a little bit. He says, "You didn't do what I think you did." And I says, we said, "Yes, we did, sir." He says, "My rear end," he didn't say rear end, but he's, "if my rear end gets burnt on this, you guys are burnt." Well, luckily that old mannequin had enough holes in it that it didn't stick around the top too long. And after the man overboard drill, where we found no one gone, we kind of got out of that one. But that was one of the funny things that we did. Over in Japan back then, I was in a bar and asked where the restroom was, needing to go one time, and I was directed to a door. Went in, and the first thing I noticed was that there was no partitions in between the stalls. Didn't think too much of it at the time, but as I was doing my duty, a person of female persuasion came in and sat down next to me. Well, evidently over there it's not unusual as it is over here. First thing I thought was, boy, am I in trouble? I'm in the ladies' room. I kind of mentioned and asked her if I was in the ladies' room, and she kind of giggled and said, "You're in everybody's room." Of course, I waited till she got up before I got up, but that's the difference in the way people live around this world here. And I noticed that a lot of people didn't have the good things that we had in the States here. In Japan, they went through our dumpsters. In the Philippines, they went through the ship's dumpsters. A lot of people around this world don't have it as good as we have it here. And I got to see a lot of that. And I got to appreciate just what we have over here. And like I said, I'm thankful for the boys over in Iraq right now giving us another bit of freedom, and giving the people in Iraq, or trying to give the people in Iraq, freedom also. I hope it works. I hope everything comes out all right. I do have some doubts, but whether everything works all right or whether everything doesn't work all right, they still deserve all the help, support, and prayers that we can give them. I don't know what else I can say. I've kind of described my job, my fun. I guess I could describe some of the buddies, but we were all the same. We were all 18 to 22-year-olds and just doing what we were asked to do. And we couldn't do too much more than that. We did enjoy our time off, but when we got back on ship, left port, and went back out to the line off the coast of Vietnam, we were all action. We were all work. We had some visitors aboard ship, USO, entertain the boys on ship kind of thing. And back in I believe it was 60, I think it was the first cruise. Might have been the second, but we had a baseball player, or some baseball players come aboard ship, and we had the most valuable players from the American League and the most valuable players from the National League, and they came aboard ship with a guy by the name of Joe DiMaggio. Well, I was called up to the captain's bridge one day, and Joe was up there, and waiting to meet the captain, and I walked into the bridge, had a Marine with me, and introduced myself. Joe, I'm Ken, and I'm one of the photographers, and I've been asked to come up here and record you and the captain meeting. And as we were waiting there, I says, why don't you sit in the captain's chair and I'll take your picture. And Joe sat in the captain's chair, and I wish I had that picture with me, but we had a hurricane here a couple of years ago, and I put them away somewhere, and I still haven't found them back yet. Well, I took Joe's picture, and after I took Joe's picture, Joe said to me, he says, well, now you get in the chair and I'll take your picture. Well, I got in the chair and Joe DiMaggio took my picture. Now, I was 19 years old, and if I had thought more about it, I might have gone down to the dock room and developed that picture and brought it back up and said, hey, Joe, do you mind signing this for me? But I was 19 years old, and I didn't know anything about what that may be worth as a memento down the years, and I missed out on that one. I met Don DeFore, Mr. Baxter of Hazel fame and other fames. I met Ike and Tina Turner, who came aboard to do a ship's show. A girl by the name of Sue Thompson, a singer, who at that time was famous for singing a song called Normand, and another song called Paper Tiger, which Connie Francis recorded after that. I sat down in Pleiku Air Force Base at one time and sat and talked face-to-face with Martha Ray for about 15 minutes. And she was a dirty old broad. Fun, but she had a mouth on her. So I did get to meet a few people. Miss America in her tour, 1965, came aboard in 1966 to entertain the troops. I accompanied the ship band a couple of times to Vietnam, Cam Ranh Bay and Pleiku Air Force Base to take pictures then. Anything to get off the ship for a few days, to break up that 90-day tour. It was interesting, and you know, I'm curious why some of the young guys nowadays not everyone goes to Iraq. Why they don't get in and broaden their life or broaden their horizons a little bit more. Just wasn't a job, it was an education. An education that you couldn't pay for. Never. That's just about all I have to say, I think. Thank you.